Since the novel coronavirus first appeared in Wuhan, China in late 2019, it has spread across the world. Coronaviruses are a large group of viruses common among many species of animals, including humans.
Coronaviruses are a large group of viruses common among many species of animals, including humans.
Coronaviruses are a large group of viruses common among many species of animals, including humans.
Coronaviruses are a large group of viruses common among many species of animals, including humans. There have only been 2 other coronaviruses that have been known to be deadly. The Middle East respiratory syndrome, known as MERS virus, that caused severe respiratory problems, and the CDC estimated that 3 out of 4
The CDC estimated that 3 out of 4
The CDC estimated that 3 out of 4
The CDC estimated that 3 out of 4 of every 10 patients infected with MERS had died. Another one is the severe acute respiratory syndrome, or SARS. Now that had an average death rate of around 10%, with older people being the most vulnerable. Viruses can spread from human contact with animals. Scientists think MERS, for example, started in camels, and they suspect that SARS started with civet cats. As for human-to-human transmission, often it happens when someone is within 3 feet of the infected person.
As for human-to-human transmission, often it happens when someone is within 3 feet of the infected person.
As for human-to-human transmission, often it happens when someone is within 3 feet of the infected person.
How does a virus spread? There are plenty of ways. It could be a sneeze, a handshake, or sexual contact, to name a few. Then there's our habits, washing our hands, not touching our face. Even the climate may play a role in determining how far and how fast an infection spreads. Scientists have summed up how far an infection can spread with a number. It's called R0. A number greater than 1 indicates it'll grow. Less than 1 indicates the outbreak will die out. Scientists determine the number with a formula that brings together all the environmental and biological factors. This is how it looks in reality. An infection is introduced to a human, from an animal, let's say. The bigger the R0 number, the more people a virus can infect. So an R0 of 2 means that patient 0 will, on average, infect 2 other people, who in turn can infect another 2 people, and so on.
President Trump today denying an obvious shift in tone from previous statements, saying he has always seen the coronavirus outbreak as a grave problem.
Is there a shift in tone?
I didn't think, I mean, I have seen that where people actually liked it, but I didn't feel different. I've always known this is a pandemic. I felt it was a pandemic long before it was called a pandemic. All you had to do is look at other countries. I think now it's in almost 120 countries all over the world. No, I've always viewed it as very serious. There was no difference yesterday from days before. I feel the tone is similar.
Though Trump only admitting the situation was out of control yesterday. For weeks, he downplayed the threat.
Are there words about a pandemic at this point?
No, we're not at all, and we have it totally under control. It's one person coming in from China, and we have it under control. It's going to be just fine.
Sources telling CNN the change in tone spurred by new projections, indicating that without drastic action, the United States could face a catastrophic loss of life from coronavirus, a death toll topping 1 million.
We have been working on models day and night around the globe.
Behind the scenes, Dr. Deborah Birx and Dr. Anthony Fauci prodding Trump for more aggressive action in recent days, as other officials warned imposing major restrictions on Americans could further hinder the economy. Sources say Trump was initially worried about volatility in markets, but the rising number of coronavirus cases ultimately pushed him into a stronger response. Trump today admitting a recession is possible, but adding he is not worried.
I don't think in terms of recession. I think in terms of getting it out, because when we're finished with the virus, we will win. We will win. And when that victory takes place, our economy is going to go through the roof. It is so pent up. It is so built up. It is so ready to go in an upward direction. But we have to knock out this enemy.
The Philadelphia Police Department has temporarily updated our protocols in light of the public health crisis we now face. We have made operational adjustments needed to navigate this period of time while we all take steps to curb the spread of the COVID-19 coronavirus. The department is not turning a blind eye to crime. We will continue to enforce all laws. However, people who commit certain nonviolent offenses will be detained and arrested at the scene. When the person's identity is confirmed, they will be released with a warrant issued for them to come in later for processing. When we are on the other side of this health crisis, we will return back to normal operations. With that said, no one will escape accountability for the crimes that they commit. An officer is able to use discretion and, with a supervisor, determine whether the person being detained poses a threat to public safety, and if so, take the offender into custody right then. To balance this approach, during this crisis, we are reassigning officers from several plainclothes units to patrol duties to increase police presence and visibility and to also deter crime 24 hours a day. These are among several steps we are implementing to protect our officers and the people we serve from exposure to and spread of COVID-19. We are also temporarily suspending the livestock vehicle impoundment program. We are modifying our roll calls to ensure proper social distancing.
We are modifying our roll calls to ensure proper social distancing.
We are modifying our roll calls to ensure proper social distancing.
We are modifying our roll calls to ensure proper social distancing. We are asking officers to take measures to do the same when answering calls for service. We are also temporarily suspending some types of what's deemed to be non-essential in-service training. And police radio will redirect certain calls for service to district operations rooms to be handled by phone, thereby reducing unnecessary up-close in-person contact.
We are also temporarily suspending some types of what's deemed to be non-essential in-service training. And police radio will redirect certain calls for service to district operations rooms to be handled by phone, thereby reducing unnecessary up-close in-person contact.
We are also temporarily suspending some types of what's deemed to be non-essential in-service training. And police radio will redirect certain calls for service to district operations rooms to be handled by phone, thereby reducing unnecessary up-close in-person contact.
We are also temporarily suspending some types of what's deemed to be non-essential in-service training. And police radio will redirect certain calls for service to district operations rooms to be handled by phone, thereby reducing unnecessary up-close in-person contact.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the News at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) puts COVID-19 confirmed figures at 30, with 28 active cases and 2 discharged. Kwara and Lagos state governments order civil servants to stay at home for 14 days to contain spread of coronavirus. Churches in Abuja and Kaduna states defy government's ban on religious gatherings as Lagos and Ogun states experience almost total compliance. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel goes into quarantine after a doctor who gave her a vaccine tests positive for coronavirus. More on the coronavirus pandemic. The situation appears quite different in Ogun State, where a task force team set up by the state government went round to monitor compliance to the directive on social distancing and restriction of population at church services to not more than 50. The head of the task force team says the directive was substantially complied with, as several churches were under lock and key, while those that opened for service recorded fewer numbers in the congregation within the limits of the restriction.
So far, so good. At least we have about 80% compliance so far. The churches that did not comply, we politely told them to comply accordingly. We politely told them to leave and reassemble themselves. We want to appeal to the general public to try and comply with the state government. Every instruction given by the state government should be complied with. The government is out with a task force, with an enforcement arm of the task force to enforce every law in Ogun State. Every law in Ogun State.
Tell us where you are, but importantly, you've got to show us what those police officers are wearing. Do they have any gear?
Well, absolutely, Kola. They do have a gear. So where we are geographically, we're right here in Springs. So this is one of the main routes here in Ekurhuleni. So the police officials do certainly have their gloves here. So it's a full-on operation. I'm just going to try and just give you a sense of what is currently happening. So I'm just going to kindly try and request perhaps the police to give us a sense. I mean, there you have it, Kola. So this is the gear that they have. The gloves, they are well kitted, the mask, and they're really working so hard because it is a multi-disciplinary operation. So it involves SAPS, the Metro Police as well, alongside, of course, the Home Affairs as well. But I'm just going to try and perhaps get Captain Masondo to give us a sense. But of course, well, in fact, we won't be joined by Masondo, but we do have the officer here who is with us. So, Brigadier, just tell us the sense, what is currently happening here, and of course we see that you are complying with the directive in terms of trying to fight COVID-19.
Thank you, and my greetings to the viewers. We are here conducting this operation, which is a multidisciplinary operation approach, whereby we are focusing on a lot of things. Yes, we are aware that coronavirus is also amongst the issues that we need to pay attention at and to address. That is why we are wearing like this, in order for the community, people that we are interacting with, they can see the importance of protecting themselves as well as protecting others, because it's not about yourself, but it's about also those who are associating with you. Our focus here currently is to address the issues of crime. We have different crimes that are affecting us, and when we are having all these disciplines, it is because of each and every discipline has a portion or a role to play. Currently, as we are doing this, there are a lot of activities that we focused on. We are focusing on the issues of drugs because of the country is affected by drugs all over. There is an outcry about drugs. It's a national concern.
So our next guest was still testing positive for the coronavirus when we checked in with him last weekend. He's still in isolation after being infected aboard the Diamond Princess cruise ship and evacuated from Japan to Omaha, Nebraska last month. Carl Goldman is with us now. Carl, I know you just took another test. A week ago, you were still testing positive. What was your test last night?
Yes, thank you. It's still a bummer. I came out positive again, so I still have to stay here, go through the cycle. Once again, I now have to wait 48 hours for another test. The protocol then is if I do test negative, I have to test 3 days in a row, 3 24-hour periods in a row of being negative.
This must be quite frustrating for you, although I'm sure you're grateful that you look seemingly healthy. I'm curious to know, Carl, I mean, I know you've said that the coronavirus hasn't been as bad for you as many people would think in terms of symptoms. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling fine today. It's still early in the morning. Of course, I'm going to get my body moving. We're here in Omaha at Central Time, but I feel fine. I still have a little cough, a dry cough. That has been getting better and better every day. And other than that, there have been no symptoms other than when I first got hit with the virus, which is that high spike in fever very, very quickly. That seems to be the common denominator for most people who are getting the virus.
Okay, so how long, help us understand how long you have had this, tested positive, and how long doctors are telling you they think this could last?
You have been in that hospital for nearly 2 weeks. How did this start for you?
Well, about 2 weeks. Well, about 2 weeks. Well, about 2 weeks ago, it started with a little tickle in my throat. I'm kind of a time fanatic, so I looked at my watch at exactly 8 o'clock on Monday night, and I was telling my friend, I got something stuck in my throat. It won't come out my throat. And it kind of just kept going. And about 2 hours later, at 10 o'clock, I had a cough. And now I'm telling him, dude, I went from a tickle to a cough in 2 hours. I'm getting the flu. And the next morning I laid down, or I woke up from sleeping all night, and I woke up with body aches and what I thought was the flu.
And then what made you end up going to the hospital, Kevin?
Well, initially that next day I had a doctor's appointment just for a checkup. And I went in and they looked at me, no tests, no nothing. They said, you got the flu, and they gave me Tamiflu. So I left the doctor's office, went to the CVS pharmacy, and the girls there, they usually go inside and pick all my medication up. But I told them, I said, look, I'm so sick. Whatever kind of flu I got, you guys don't need to get it. And I got my Tamiflu through the window. So I go home, and 3 days later, they're telling me I'm supposed to feel better on a Tamiflu, but I feel 10 times worse. So I called a friend of mine, and his wife came over. I wanted to take a shower because I hadn't been in a shower in 6 days. And she comes over, and I'm passed out in the shower. And basically, she came in, she got me dressed. She told me, you have pneumonia, and she took me to the hospital.
And I mean, look, it's incredible. It's incredibly lucky that you got there. And now, as I said, you've been there for nearly 2 weeks. And what are doctors telling you about where you are now? Just to make it clear, you're now looking at 2 weeks plus the 5+ days that you're talking about. I mean, this has been a very, very long period of time that you've had this and been in incredibly difficult straits. So what are they telling you now?
Well, now they're telling me I'm going to make it. But to be quite frank with you, several doctors told me for 4 days when I first got here, you don't have the coronavirus, but we have to test you and we have to treat you like you have it. Well, some staff members did treat me like I had it. Other staff members were just consistently stuck with the fact that you have pneumonia. We've never seen this kind before, but you don't have the coronavirus. It's highly unlikely. You haven't been anywhere, which I hadn't. I do these things where I spend a lot of time alone, and I hadn't seen anybody else for like 10 days before I actually got sick. So they're telling me, you're going to be fine. As soon as the cultures come back, we're going to know what kind of pneumonia it is, and we're going to treat it. But you don't have the coronavirus. You don't have the same signs. You don't have the same symptoms. You don't have half of what you should have if it was the coronavirus. I said, okay. And then 2 days later, I got two doctors sitting in front of me, one of them with tears in her eyes. And I'm like, what's going on? And they said, we don't understand it, but you have the coronavirus. I'm like, you just told me for 3 days I don't have the virus. They said, well, we don't know what to do. I said, well, what's next? And they basically said, pray. I'm like, how do doctors tell you to pray? What are you going to do to fix me? There's nothing we can do. We have no treatment. There's nothing we can give you. It's your body. Your body has to fight it. And They left the room, and I'm sitting there thinking I'm getting ready to die. Well, just yesterday, the fever's been gone for 3.5, almost 4 days now. And yesterday they told me, the one doctor promised me, he'd tell me when I was out of the woods. And he said, you're out of the woods. The only problem is we have no clue why you got better. We have no clue what kind of pneumonia you had. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever for you to be sitting here.
Well, it is an incredible story and incredible for people to hear what, people on the front lines, what those doctors are doing, right? Something they'd never seen before. And they did everything that they absolutely could for you. Kevin, what do you say to, and look, let's be honest, many people are following what the government says now, right? You see empty roads, you see empty subways, you see it across the country, but we don't see it everywhere, right? I don't know if you've seen the pictures. I'll show them again to people. Spring breakers crowding the shores in Florida. Many of those beaches still open. It's packed. What do you say? What is your message to people who don't take this seriously?
In the beginning, I was a little angry because I felt like I'm here dying and they're not taking it seriously. I'm as black as they come. We can get this. And it just amazes me how everybody's out there celebrating St. Patrick's Day. They're calling me the doomsday guy. A lot of them think that you guys are paying me.
A lot of them think that you guys are paying me.
A lot of them think that you guys are paying me to do these interviews, and they're doubting me. And instead of me getting angry like I had been, I'm telling people, I hope to God you're right. I hope you don't get it and nobody that you know get it, because I don't have the sniffles version. I don't have the sore throat. I don't have the little body ache. I had the version of this that kills you. And there was absolutely nothing they could do about it. It's by the grace of God and the prayers of all the people that have been praying for me. And I swear, if it wasn't for Jehovah God and my faith in him and Jesus Christ, I'd be gone already. These people have to take this serious. I know you're going to be inconvenienced for a while with social distancing. However, do you want to be socially dead 6 months from now? The same people that are going to miss you for a couple of months are going to miss you forever when you didn't take this seriously.
All right. Well, Kevin, I appreciate your time, and I am so glad that you now have been told you're out of the woods. And we are all hoping for, at this point, a very speedy recovery after such a long and grueling and terrible experience for you. Thank you.
And thank you, Aaron. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to let people know that this is deathly serious.